this game for the first time, I had a seething amount of hatred towards Bungie due to the, let's say, the screwing over of PC players that were following the Halo games from the beginning, because Halo 3 was made an Xbox 360 exclusive, even though the first two games were released on PC, and Halo has always kind of been a PC game from the beginning. But does Bungie let PC gamers experience the final chapter of the very least this trilogy? Hell no! Screw PC gamers, we're going to try and sell as many 360s as humanly possible. And so yeah, PC gamers, they finally got a port for them. Like, let's see, I think it was almost 15 to 16 years later. By that point, most of everything in Halo 3 was spoiled for us. So, yeah. Going into this game, I had a lot of hatred for it. Not so much it, but just of the company that made it. I've never forgiven Bungie for that, and quite frankly, after that, I never really liked much of their content ever again. I was very happy to find out that Bungie sold Halo to 343 Industries. It's been for the best, guys. I know a lot of people hate Halo 4 and 5, but no. Bungie doesn't deserve to work on the series anymore. And this game, after playing it, it was nice to finally play it, but I did have problems with it. And I'm going to get into those problems now.
Shipmaster, they outnumber us 3-1.
Then it is an even fight.
Hurry, Chief. There isn't much time.
So for starters, I gotta address the major elephant in the room, and that is the cliffhanger ending to Halo 2. I kinda did in the intro, but one of the weirdest aspects to Halo 3 is, instead of, starting off right where the cliffhanger ended, like a sane person would, no, we start off 15 hours later after Master Chief has crash landed into the Earth. Why? They don't really explain what happened between when Master Chief got onto that spacecraft and said, "I'm going to finish the fight, sir," and then he's back on Earth, crash landed. Apparently he decided to take the long way down, and it's just like, oh yeah, we were sent to rescue you, Chief. It's just like, as a fan who spent years waiting to see the continuation of that cliffhanger ending, I'm just thinking like, what? We don't get to see any huge firefight level on that ship, and I've heard afterwards that oh no, they had, that was a comic book you could get. Really? You had a crucial plot gap moved to a comic book? Why'd you do that? To make more money? Yeah, that probably to make more money. Okay, so you bastardized your own game to try and make a little bit more cash. Fine. But I don't hate this game. One of the things I do love about this game is the production value. The production value is impressive. It does feel like they spent a lot of money to make this game feel impressive. I mean, I've played some games that it felt like they squeezed every penny they could, and this game, it felt like they blew as much cash as they could on the tiniest little details, because there was no way this was going to lose. And you can totally see that in the production value. Now, I am playing the Master Chief version of Halo 3, so this will be with improvements. And one of the improvements is with the graphical inconsistencies that the 360 has. So one of the biggest one is anti-aliasing. Anti-aliasing was really bad in the 360 version of this game, especially with like computer models and whatnot. One of the best examples you can see of this is in like the second or third level when Master Chief is down in that human bunker and you know the general's up on the TV screen talking to them, and you can, in the original version, you can see the edge of the TV screen just like broken and like moving, and like the anti-aliasing is horrendous in that original version. In the Xbox One Master Chief Collection version, it's been improved much better. Also, the resolution is a bit tighter, so instead of having so many pixels to a square centimeter, it's like double that, and so you have a much cleaner picture with the Master Chief Collection version. I did run into a couple bugs though that caused me to restart the checkpoint, but I can forgive that. And this is a vast improvement over the original Halo 2, not the Halo 2 Anniversary Edition, the one where they fix almost every issue, but no, the original crappy Halo 2 that you saw on the original Xbox. Much better version, so you're not seeing focus being pulled away from Master Chief. You play as Master Chief through the entire game. Unless you're playing co-op, then you'll play as the Arbiter. But for the most part, you're playing as Master Chief if you're doing this solo. Another thing is they bring back the fucking assault rifle. Well, that was one of the most dumbest things that happened in Halo 2. It's just like, oh yeah, that weapon you really liked? Say goodbye and say hello to its very ugly, less appealing inbred cousin, the battle rifle. But I want the assault rifle. No, you're getting the battle rifle. Admittedly, the battle rifle was improved again in Halo 2 Anniversary. But I did play Halo 3 after playing the crappy Halo 2 before I played the Anniversary of Halo 2. The Anniversary edition of that game was basically a massive apology for Halo 2. So I still gotta kind of go off of experiencing this after the original shitty Halo 2. And so, yeah, a lot of improvements. They bring back the assault rifle. There aren't as many plot holes. After a certain point, the writing becomes more consistent. I'll get into that a little bit later. There's not a cliffhanger ending that just makes you scream at the TV screen and just want to tear out your eyeballs and rip off your skin just to relieve the pressure. You know, this does have a ending to it that, while I wasn't particularly nuts about, it was like, okay, at least they ended it. Finally. So yeah, there's a lot of improvements over Halo 2. And this was a pretty fun conclusion to the series, although admittedly the beginning was really slow. Case in point, the entire focal point of this game is you're finishing the fight. In the first game, you started the fight, the second game, you continued the fight, and now the third one, you're finishing the fight. I mean, people were losing their minds back in 2007 over this game. And when you start off the game, the mission for the first level is get out of the quarry you landed in. Oh, okay, and then the next mission is go rescue these guys. Like, oh, okay, and the next one is, hey, get out of this base. Like, I was expecting something a little bit more epic with finishing the fight. But no, once the flood shows up, the story really kicks into high gear and you get a very, very nice epic conclusion. I mean, like, galactic stakes conclusion. Very nice. I would love to see this trilogy in movie format. At least we're getting the show next year. Hopefully that's not complete garbage and actually decent. I'm hoping it's decent. But yeah, no, the beginning was oddly slow. And this game still had audio issues without headphones, which is unfortunate. It'd be nice if one day we got a Halo game where you could actually turn down the music to the level you need it. But yeah, no, definitely you need the headphones to be able to follow what's going on and be able to like figure out, oh, okay, so that's what they said. Going back to like the weapons were better balanced from the second game. So like the shotgun isn't a completely useless paperweight. Okay, it's been improved, so is the needler, and you also get a couple of new weapons, like this really neat one called the Mauler, which is basically like a submachine gun with two giant knives on the bottom of the front of the gun for some reason. It's impractical, but pretty cool actually when you think about it. And so yeah, you get a couple of new weapons, those are pretty cool. And another thing I really liked is ammo consistency is better handled. In the second game, one of my biggest issues was the fact that if you're using human weapons, apart from the submachine gun and the battle rifle, every single human weapon you could never find ammo for apart from what was in that weapon when you found it. So the sniper rifle, the shotgun, you know, the pistol, these all felt like special weapons you could only use once in a great while because you couldn't find any ammo for them. And luckily in this game, that's not quite the case. You still have those weapons where you only get them once in a great while, and they're technically just special effect weapons, but you do find more ammo and stuff for other weapons besides the battle rifle and the submachine gun. You know, so that was a much appreciated fix from the original Halo 2. And as usual, my biggest criticism of the series, Master Chief still doesn't feel like a super soldier. He just feels like a grunt in the military who has a series of exciting events happen to him. Unlike Halo 2 Anniversary, where when he hits someone, they go flying. I wish they added that skull to the Master Chief Collection version of this game, but they didn't. Apparently they only want to have one game insanely cool. And so I don't get that. We were at the last chapter of the trilogy. At the time, this was potentially the last game in the series. And, you know, you're still not making Master Chief feel like a super soldier apart from like one thing, which I'll get into in a little bit. And another downside to this particular game is there is a heavy over-focus of multiplayer. So if you don't play multiplayer and you're not online or you don't have internet, the only thing you're going to be able to do is the campaign, and that's really about it. You can't play bots offline with the multiplayer. There's no Spec Ops mode, no, nothing like that. So keep that in mind if you're getting this by itself on Xbox 360. If you're getting Master Chief Collection, you'll have plenty to do in addition to this campaign, because this you don't have to pay extra for. It comes in the total package. Now something really crazy is that slowdowns and freezes now happen in this game without the checkpoints. In the previous games, yeah, you saw that with like Halo Anniversary and Halo Reach, where it would slow down at checkpoint. But now, this time, it does it without the checkpoints. Actually, a lot of the checkpoints I didn't see slowdown, but I'd be playing the game and then slow down, okay? Or just freezes. It's like, okay, is the system going to crash? And it's like, no, kept playing. So things are getting worse, I guess. Now, something else that I found interesting is, oddly, there's no terminal videos with the Master Chief Collection version of this game. You got terminal videos with Anniversary, Anniversary 2, Halo 4, but no terminal videos with Halo 3. It's like every other game except for Halo 4 or Halo 3, which is kind of weird. I didn't really get that. It's not that I want that. I mean, I'm not holding that against the game. I just found it kind of odd that of the entire Master Chief Collection, this is the one game that doesn't have terminal videos. So, okay. Probably the one neat thing I liked about this was the equipment and the turrets in this game. Now, equipment's kind of a new thing you get where, like, you can throw down a bubble shield, you can throw down portable shields, things that lift you up in the air, regenerators, stuff like that. These aren't huge things that you're going to be changing the way you play the game, but they do add a little spice and variety to the campaign, and you do come across enough of them that you can actually get kind of a different experience each time you play the campaign. So there is some replayability there just with the equipment, but the one thing I absolutely love, this thing just blew my mind when I started playing around with it, is turrets. Now, turrets were introduced in the second one, but they were always placed in the worst possible position. Essentially, when you ever got your hands on a turret, either the battle was over or it was in the wrong direction, and so you rarely ever got to use the turret on enemies. Well, this time around, they decided to do something that actually would make Master Chief feel a little bit like a super soldier. And one of the things is, one, turrets now are facing the right direction during fights. You get a lot more of them. But two, this thing just blew my mind. You can now rip a turret off of its stand and carry it around. Now, you don't get unlimited ammo anymore, but still, this is infinitely more cooler than I just explained it. And you have to admit, that sounded pretty cool the way I explained it. I mean, you could literally just rip a minigun off its stand and just walk around, just hosing down the entire room with it. And when you're doing that, you feel like an invincible badass. And so, nice additional touch that this game put onto the game. I know it's a small thing, but no, this was like a huge selling point for the game for me. It's just, you can now walk around mowing down people with a minigun. Or not people, aliens and Flood with a minigun. I mean, come on, how awesome does that sound? It sounds pretty sweet. So, in the end, I really enjoyed this game. It was a nice conclusion. I hated that I had to wait so many years to finally play it. And it's a shame that they didn't do some of the fixes I wanted, but ultimately I did like this experience better than 2. I still stand by that out of the trilogy, 1 is the best in terms of story, but in terms of gameplay, like stuff you could do, this one was insanely fun, and I highly recommend getting the Master Chief Collection for all these games. But if you're on 360 still, this is totally worth a pickup if you can. And I would lastly say, this is a fight worth finishing. For more on Halo, I have more reviews coming. I am Christopher Connell with 11 Hour Reviews, and that is all. Don't forget to do the thing.
Hey, open up!
Password, please!
You gotta be kidding me! What password?
The password so we don't open the door for brutes.
Do I sound like a brute to you?
Well, you could be held prisoner by brutes.
If I was held prisoner by brutes and knew the password, then the brutes could just force me to tell you the password and you'd open the door for them.
Okay, well now I'm definitely not gonna open the door.